Hey, beautiful people. Welcome back to Cocktails and Conversations with me, Deborah Ababio. I've got an incredible episode for you today. I've got the beautiful Michelle on the couch. Michelle, please introduce yourself to our audience.
Hello, everyone. I'm Michelle Agyeman-Coley, and I'm the founder of Future Brand Thinking, a communications and social media events, experiential events agency based in London.
Woohoo! Welcome to Cocktails and Conversations. Today, we're going to have such a beautiful conversation. I was so happy that you confirmed that you're able to be here with us because being black owned in this industry, we're going to get into that. And she's had some experience, like she can give you the real tea. I don't know if we're going to be able to spill. I don't know.
Maybe a little bit,
I don't
just a
know.
little bit,
I know.
just a
But
little bit.
before we get into the spilling, let's pour her a drink. Right. A little cocktail, never hurt no one.
Excited for this.
Well, this one's a mocktail.
Yeah, beautiful color.
Thank you. I mean, you know me and my colors. Hey, what are we cheersing to?
Oh, cheersing to lots of kind of great things happening across all platforms, but just a little bit softer this year, please, God. Thank you very much.
So agree to that. Please, I'm cheersing to soft life.
Yeah,
That's
cheers.
it.
Cheers to that.
Soft life. Cheers to us. Ooh.
Oh, yeah, I love this.
Mm.
I love it.
I know I say every episode, but please, God, bless me with a cocktail bar because I am so good. I could literally just drink this in one.
Yeah, this is so refreshing and so delicious.
So thank you. She said it. She said it. I didn't force her. I didn't pay her. She said it.
I can't stop drinking it now. It's great.
Well, you don't have to. You don't have to.
Let me keep it here.
So let's get it straight into it. I want to know what little Michelle was like.
Oh, wow. I love this question. Well, little Michelle, I think my personality has reigned through. I think I've always been this girl. From what my mum tells me as well and my relatives, I've always been really strong-headed, known what I
What star
wanted
sign are you?
from the beginning, a Capricorn.
I don't know much about star signs. I don't know why I asked that. I didn't know my own, which is a Pisces, so I don't know. I'm not into
Well, Capricorns
all
are
of
very
that.
ambitious, driven, loyal,
Oh,
super,
yeah.
super
Now
loyal.
I can testify. You
And I
definitely
feel,
loyal.
yeah,
You
I feel
definitely
like that
loyal.
is me. So yeah, I feel like I've been this girl, just grown into myself a lot more, obviously, with the challenges of life. I've learned to embrace my strong nature. I've learned to embrace being a tad stubborn.
I think you need. I don't
Yeah.
think stubborn. I feel like that's resilience.
Resilience,
Yeah.
I was about to say.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
change that
Yeah.
word for
Yeah.
resilience. And that is me. And I think I've always been like that. Ambitious 100%. Started many little enterprises as a young kid.
Really? Can you tell us some of them?
Well, just one of them is actually quite funny. I used to, this is very funny, very 80s. I used to wash cars with my
Oh.
brother. So we used
Strangers'
to go.
cars?
Yeah.
And your parents, your African parents, let you wash
They weren't
strangers'
really
cars?
aware
Oh.
because they worked quite a
Spoiler.
lot. Yeah, they know now. They worked quite a lot. And because my brother, he was 5 years younger than me, he still is 5 years younger than me, and he was very cute. So I would make him go and knock at the door. So they
Child
would be,
labour.
so they'd be like, oh my God, look at this cute little boy, thinking that we probably didn't have a home or something crazy. And it's just that my parents were just really hardworking and they were working.
Yeah,
And then
cool.
I'd say, can we wash your car, please? And I can't remember how much we charged, but it was a long time ago, and it was something like £3 to £5.
That's good, though.
So it was good money.
That's good money.
So we used to wash the car. They used to say yes most of the time, and we used to wash the car. And my key asset was my brother because he was cute and he was younger than me, cuter.
But that is an asset in itself of
Yeah.
you recognizing
Yeah.
that he was an asset.
Because people
and
couldn't
that you
really say
could-
no.
Right? You kind of literally found something that made money, but also made sense. He was cute. Let's use that to then get people to let us wash their cars. I mean, that's entrepreneurship.
Yeah,
mate.
it was crazy. When I was 15, nearly 16, I was allowed to go shopping on a Saturday to a place called Romford. I grew up in Essex, just down the road. And I was allowed to kind of be
Romford
out
is
all day.
East London.
East London, yeah.
East London.
East
Far.
it's
International
in
babes.
Essex. It's Essex, actually, yeah. And I would go and hang out with my friends. And then one day I walked into this shop called Bow Baggage back in the day.
What is that?
And it was an accessory shop
I've never
owned
heard of
by a
it.
family.
We're not that
It was a
far
bit like
apart. How we?
it was a bit like Accessorize is now.
Oh, but it's an independent store.
Yeah, it was an
Oh, then maybe that's why I
independent,
didn't
like
hear.
family
Yeah,
owned.
yeah. Okay, then that's why I didn't hear.
And they had them in Bow on the Roman Road in Romford. And I walked
Is it
in and
still
I
around?
just said, they have different businesses now, but I met the family recently. So I was their Saturday girl.
Oh my
But my
gosh.
parents said they didn't want me to have a job because they wanted me to, of course,
be in
focus
school.
on my
Yeah,
studies.
yeah.
So
African parents.
I decided to go and ask for a job. They offered me a job. Instead of telling my parents that I had been offered a job, I just said to them that I was going out for the whole day with my friends
Oh, right.
because they preferred that to me saying that I was actually going out to work.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. They were just like, they didn't want me to have a permanent kind of job, like
Right,
Saturday job.
right,
They just wanted me to, but I wasn't studying when I was out with my friends. So anyway, didn't all make sense. But so I took this job for a good month working in this
they
shop,
just thought you
and
were,
they thought I was just out with my friends.
But you were next
But
to
then
your
I
house,
had
so
money.
didn't they like come and didn't they
No,
walk in
it
and
wasn't
you were
that
working?
close. It wasn't that close.
Okay.
But my auntie did walk in once.
Ah.
But yeah, and that was my first job, and I worked that job solidly through the summer holidays once they found out.
Yeah.
And I was earning like 100 and something pounds a week.
A week?
Yeah,
That is a lot.
Yeah, back in the day
I used
as
to
well.
earn
That was a lot.
and something a month for my
Yeah.
£2.60 an hour.
Yeah. And it was like, I was already thinking about stocking up money and being independent to my parents. And that is me through and through. So I always I was very entrepreneurial,
Are you the
even from a
oldest?
young, yeah.
Oh, I was
Yeah,
gonna
I'm
say,
the
how did you?
eldest of two.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's nice. Boy and a girl.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so that was me. And I just feel like that is still such a big part of my personality, is to just kind of drive forward. Even when I hit massive obstacles, I try and find my way around them. I'm always thinking of ideas, and, it's just my mindset is creativity, entrepreneurism, kind of just pushing forward, really. And I feel
So-
like I've always been like that.
So then, I guess you went to school, did the whole thing, and then went into work though. So how did that come about? So what did you study in school?
I did my GCSEs,
Yeah.
and then I went to sixth form college, and then I went on to do a law and business degree at Middlesex University. So I
Whoa.
am a law and business graduate.
No way.
Yeah, so I did nothing to do with fashion. I didn't know anything about PR.
Oh wow.
I loved fashion.
Yeah.
Really loved fashion. I had like all these sketchbooks where I'd draw like a model. And if anything, I think people thought that I might be a designer before I entered, properly into academia. And
But what did your parents do? Did that influence what you wanted to do?
yeah,
Please
not
them.
really. I just thought that they worked really hard. I didn't realize until my dad passed away, actually, how important his job was. So he was an equivalent to he worked in the equivalent to a hedge fund.
Oh,
But I just thought he was a businessman that, back in the day had a briefcase, wore a suit. But he was an economist. He was also an analyst.
Oh, wow.
And then, his last kind of big career job was working for a commodities business.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And my mum has always been, she trained as a qualified chef, and she's always been in
amazing.
catering.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so
then you
completely
went to
different to
law?
me. Yeah, well, I wouldn't say my whole family, but my two of my aunties and my close aunties, my mum's first cousins, are lawyers. One's sister, one was a barrister.
Okay.
So
So
when
you just saw these powerful women doing
when
these
my
great
friends were
things.
doing work experience at, I don't know, a shop.
Yeah.
When we were 15,
Yeah.
I was going into Lincoln's Inn in Chancery Lane and working in a barrister's chambers.
Going to Central London was a big deal.
Yeah, it was.
I tried
I
to
went
push
with
for
my
my
dad.
work experience
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
in Central London. It was the best thing ever.
Yeah, my dad took me because he worked in Holborn, and it was in Chancery Lane, and it was brilliant. And then I became really excited about a prospect of working in law and following in my auntie's footsteps, who I was really close to. But
So would you say you were academic, like this literally wanted, because obviously from that entrepreneurship as a young age, bringing in money,
yeah,
did you see that as, okay, this was something I enjoy, or this is something that's going to give me
both.
money?
Both. I thought I would carry on, and I thought that I would be a lawyer. I loved I wanted to be, later on I wanted to be a solicitor, but in the beginning I wanted to be a barrister. I wanted to be in court, you know, kind of representing, you know, people in court and arguing their truth, their cases. So that's
Literally, oh my God, that's like incredible. So did you find studying law very easy? Because obviously you had
no.
auntie. No.
No, that was
With
the
your
pivotal
academic brain
point.
and your actually.
That was the pivotal point. I think with me, I was academic. My parents were also very, very strict about education. So I did a lot of studying outside school. So when I was 8, I was
they got
doing
you
11
tutors and
plus
stuff.
papers, tutors, like the whole shebang. I'm kind of doing that at the moment with my son, just because I did that. So I was academic, but I feel like I had to put a lot of extra work in. So my law degree wasn't easy. It was super hard. And then closer to the end of it, I was just like, oh, I'm not really sure if this is for me. And then my path
So how did you
changed.
transcend from law to, because PR and law are very different.
Yeah,
Very,
very,
very different.
very. I didn't know
So
what PR was. So
how did you get into that space?
it's a really interesting story. I was on my way to spend Christmas with my then boyfriend in Birmingham, and there were no trains, but I didn't realise that. So I had to take a coach and from London to Birmingham. So on that coach, I met someone who was head of visual merchandise for a brand called Kukai.
Oh,
I'm kind of
Kukai.
telling my age now. There was a brand it was a French brand, but it was franchised in the UK. So another family-owned business here in the UK. And Tula, hi Tula, if you're watching, she was head of visual merchandise. And we just sat next to each other. So we started talking. She was like, what do you do? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I'm about to go to law school, but I'm not really sure if it's for me. It's going to cost my parents £10,000. It's already cost us a lot to kind of this journey thus far. I don't know if I'm
really.
I don't know if I've got what it takes to do this. And I don't want to waste my parents' money, but I don't know what else to do because I've studied law and blah, blah, blah.
What was it about law that wasn't giving you?
I think that because I found my final year so hard.
Is it because you're doing all the laws, or were you concentrating on one?
It was, in the degree, a partial degree, so it's law and business. You do both, but you have to study all the core subjects of law. It's a lot, and the business side was easy. The law side,
business side, you literally
the
had it on
law
your
side was just difficult, and it just opened my eyes. I was kind of like, oh, I don't know. Like my aunties went to Cambridge, and and I didn't have 100%, if I'm going to be really honest with myself, all the right credentials to take it as far as, and I was mirroring myself on them. They went to private schools. Law, especially then, was very much about what boarding school you went to, to get into a really good legal firm. It's less like that now, put it like that. And I was just not fancying my chances. And because I found the degree so hard, I was just having second thoughts. And Tula said to me, oh my God, you're really chatty. You're really great with people, great communication skills. You should get into PR. And I was like, what's
PR?
That? And
she was public relations is PR.
Yeah. So she was like, I work for this fashion brand called Kukai. We've just employed a new head of PR, and she's going to need an assistant, and I know that she's going to be looking for one straight away. Let me put you in touch with her. Just go and have a chat with her.
What?
Just go and have
just for meeting.
Yeah, for meeting. We were on the coach for 3 hours.
No, but that's what I mean. Like just by your personality.
Yeah,
and that's what I'm saying. Energy is so real. Like
it's so important because I kind of laid it bare to her, like in one trip. She knew everything about me, and she was like, "I know this job is for you, just meet with her and see, hear about the job, hear about PR. And long story short, I met with her after Christmas and she offered me the job. And she offered me the job at £2,000 a month less than I ended up negotiating. So she was like,
what
"You've
was
not."
it again?
So the new head of PR offered me the job at the rate that
They
job
would,
was going
right.
for, with someone with maybe a little bit of experience, did work experience or whatever in PR or fashion. And because I had no experience at all, she was like, "I have to start you off at like
lower
entry
rate.
level."
Right. Okay, that's
And I was like,
understandable.
"Oh, that just sounds way too low. I'm about to do I was about to do law school and then I would be on double that. So
Right.
I need at least this much more." And considering I had no experience, I didn't even know what PR was up until that point.
Yeah.
And then she took it to the owners and said, "This girl's like really bolshy and I think she's going to be brilliant. So can we just give her the extra £2,000
Wow.
just to get her?" And then
Look
they
at
offered
you
me the
bring
job.
your negotiation skills
I
into
know.
the
I can't believe that.
not out of the
I'm
courtroom into the PR space. Look at
I'm
you.
still reminded of that.
Look at you.
Yeah,
Wow.
so that was my journey. That was the start of my journey. In-house, High Street Kensington, on top of the Kukai store, for
And
a
what did
year.
your jobs entail? Like the fact that you're
It
going
was
in like
very
blind, you didn't know
press.
what.
It was at that point. It was very press office led,
Right.
and I mean, again, I don't know if my old boss is watching, but it was very ab fab in those
Right.
days.
Okay.
So my boss would come in the morning, shades on.
Yeah.
"Hi, darling. Hi, darling. Hi, darling. Hey, Lucy. How are you?" And then she would leave by 11 to
What?
go to a meeting.
Yeah. Oh
which
yeah, being out.
then
Yeah, because you
she
have to
would
be always
never.
happy.
She
Come
would not
back.
come back. So I was left.
Because the meeting turned into lunch, and the lunch turned into drinks, and the drinks turned into dinner, and that's how the people used to do things back in the day.
Absolutely, that was
Yeah.
PR back in the day. So
Yeah.
I knew if she had a meeting that day, I wouldn't see her until the next day
Right.
with sunglasses on,
Right.
maybe a little bit hungover.
Right.
So I used that to my benefit.
Okay.
And I conducted all the press appointments. So some of the big editors that are still around, not all of them are still in on the editorial side at magazines, I met when they were assistants too. So I was little Michelle in the Kukai showroom doing all the appointments because my boss was never around. And they were assistants pulling for their big
Right.
editors. And that's how I know a lot of
All
people.
I can't stress it enough. Relationships will take you further
Yeah,
than like being a good person. First of all, being a
absolutely.
good person, having good energy, and just literally, relationships. Like everything's all about relationships. I'm not saying, the whole thing about it's all about who you know, and I do believe that, and I have a love-hate relationship with that because obviously in our industry, everyone feels like it's elitist and blah blah blah. But half of the battle is going into it like how you did. You didn't know anything, but you found a way. You literally worked your socks off. You did. It's not like, oh, my boss is not here, so I'm just gonna sit down. You didn't do that.
Yeah,
You didn't
I
just,
didn't take advantage
yeah,
of
you didn't
that
take
part.
in that side. You did the work. You saw what needed to be done. You learned on the job, and you got it done. And I feel like in this day and age, unfortunately, people just don't. I don't want to quote Kim Kardashian, but nobody wants to work. Nobody wants to get up and work. And I feel like doing that, building those relationships, really does set you up.
Yeah.
Half the stuff I'm doing is because of the relationship I
Absolutely.
have and the relationship I've built and the blood, sweat, and tears and the days where you think, what am I doing this for? It does come to pass. So how long were you with Kukai?
A year.
Oh,
I was there
just a year.
just a year,
How come?
because I had learnt so much,
Mm.
so much, that within a year, to the shock of my bosses and everyone, I went for an interview with a leading agency at the time called Exposure,
Oh, yes.
and they offered me a job within a year.
Wow.
So they offered me a job again. I got a pay rise, like a big pay rise, to
And
go
so you moved into what now? So where were you at
agency
Kukai?
life. So I was in-house,
Right, in-house
press
as
assistant.
press assistant.
Then
Moved
I went to agency as
as
a junior account exec, I think.
okay,
I might have,
yeah, that's how.
yeah. And that was, again, that was the start of my agency life. But I would never have been able to secure that job at an agency like Exposure, back in the day, and I'm sure it's still the same now. It's a different kind of agency, but we were doing Levi's, Converse, Foot Locker, Coca-Cola. We were in charge of, sorry. We came out with the idea of wrapping the Coca-Cola bottles. So that was our idea, came from a brainstorm in the office.
Oh, wow.
And that still lives on today.
So can you tell our audience how, obviously, we from in-house to agency, how do you differentiate that, and what is the difference? If someone doesn't know what the difference is,
Huge difference. And it's still the same now. So in-house, I had one brand, one job was to get visibility, secure visibility, coverage for that one particular brand. All of a sudden, you're propelled into an agency where, even at that stage in my career, never worked in agencies before, where you have to do that job across multiple brands.
This is what I mean.
And each day you could come into the office and your manager could say, "Oh, we've won a new client. You've got a new client." And you're like, "Yay." It was just learning how to put your mind and like multitask across clients.
Because everyone needs different things.
And brands, and different strategies. Yeah. Because at that point, you're not writing the strategies yourself. Your bosses are your managers, your directors. And in some places, with some brands like the Levi's and the Converse, the global strategy was written by the lead agency. So you just had to follow that as an agency. So it was mad. It was like being thrown into the fire and having to, kind of just hit the ground running. Yeah. It was crazy, but the best 6 years of my life.
6 years you were there?
Yeah. Learn everything I know today.
What kept you there for 6 years, do you think?
It was a community. It was a lot of my best friends now aren't, I would say, from university. They're from my days working at Exposure. Yeah. We worked hard and we played hard. Oh my God. We were just talking about it just yesterday. We worked hard and we played hard. We worked on amazing campaigns. The stuff we were doing doesn't touch the sides of what's happening in agencies now. We were allowed to be so creative. There were huge budgets.
The budgets.
The budgets were insane.
The budgets were actually budgeting back then.
They were brilliant. And it just allowed you to be really creative. The metrics that we now work to now, so looking at reach and different kinds of metrics. The metrics were who was talking about it, how talked about was that event or that campaign or that activation. So it was built like that. So the pressure was there. You had to make sure that those campaigns really hit, but it was just a different kind of pressure. So we managed to kind of work really hard, achieve some crazy results, and then after work, we'd all be out most nights together. Yeah. It would go from a few drinks at the social bar across the road to our office to dinner, 2 rounds to someone's house, early morning, get back home quickly, shower, get changed, into work, hangover and all, still able to function. Like those days were crazy, but they were brilliant. And we just did some amazing work and great.
What would you say in those 6 years would be, say, your favorite campaign or your favorite client was?
Oh, I have to say, we launched Juicy Couture into the UK.
You guys did that.
Yeah, and I was quite pivotal on that account with my directors. And it was my biggest account since joining Exposure. And, just working with Juicy Couture.
How would they divide their accounts into? Like, was there like a section, or was it?
We were in teams, so there were different account directors, and then they had different teams underneath them, and then they would be given like various clients, like in teams. So was there the Levi's team, for instance, mainly worked on Levi's and maybe Dr. Martens, and then the Converse team would mainly work on Converse. So the big heavyweight fashion brands, global brands, they would normally have one team on them, especially the Levi's team, and that's all they would work on. But I worked on the teams that had like many more clients. They were maybe smaller, so that's why Juicy Couture was a big one for us. And coming from the US to the UK, we did an amazing, huge campaign, it was quite simple when you think about it. And we launched with jeans.
Mm.
So unbeknown to most people, just saw the velour
Yeah.
and the terry towel
Yeah.
in tracksuits
Yeah.
and thought that, but we actually launched with jeans. So a lot of the coverage, which I still have,
Oh.
like Laura Craig wrote amazing double page spread for me, and I pitched that in. So I was so proud of that
Of
piece of coverage.
course.
It's double page spread in the
Seriously, when you
Evening
get an editor to
Standard.
write something that you've been pitching for a long time, it's a win.
It's a definite win. And that was all on the different styles of jeans. So before the frames and all of the, even for All Mankind, like we showed all the different cuts in jeans. So the bootleg, the slim leg, the straight leg, the skinny, and it just went down the storm. And the terry toweling and the velour tracksuits were just an extra thing.
Oh, I
And
didn't know
that
that.
became the
I really thought
actual.
like the velours was like the main
Yeah,
thing.
it's just the thing that everyone picked up. So way back then, I'm talking 2002.
Wow.
Yeah, they the celebrities, the VIPs that we gifted. So we were doing gifting campaigns, but way back then. But celebrities were turning up to pick up their gifting. David Beckham came to collect a
No
tracksuit
way.
for Victoria
Oh my
and jeans and
gosh.
cashmere.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So this days where you have to like try and get an address and
Yep.
send, you
Pulled
were
up,
actually.
collected her gifting.
Oh wow.
Mel B, like loads of
Yeah.
amazing people
Yeah.
came and collected their gifting. So we were doing that, way back then. And exposure claims that we started seeding, like gifting.
Oh wow. Did Pia not do that before?
No,
Really?
no.
I never knew that.
No, we started it because we had Levi's and Converse.
Right.
So we were gifting and it
So
turned into a thing.
if no one was doing it, what brought it about? What did your managers see that
So
was,
I think
or was that American thing that they brought over here?
it was something that UK agencies weren't doing, that we were doing more traditional coverage driven PR.
Right.
And celebrities were buying products and
from the
brands.
coverage.
Yeah. No, they were buying the brands, like just they saw a brand that they liked, maybe in the newspaper, maybe in the magazine. So the influencer led, and talent led brand building wasn't in play yet. But we had brands
know
like
that.
I said, Levi's, Converse, that had product, and they were like, make sure that everyone's. We could only wear Converse in the office.
Really?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, and no one would dare wear any other brand of jeans but Levi's. I think Topshop, when we started working with Topshop, we were allowed to wear Topshop jeans.
Right. And was that a rule, or is that because you guys
I think
had
it was
access
just,
to it?
yeah, we had access, but it was more of, this is our big brand.
Right.
Everyone just needs to wear Levi's. It was like an unwritten rule.
Okay. Okay. But I mean, it's not a bad.
Yeah.
It's not a bad unwritten rule
Yeah.
to have.
But we definitely were one of the pioneering agencies in seeding and starting that trend
gifting
of gifting.
Yeah. Which is like so.
Yeah, it's
everyone wants
like
to be on
part
that
and
PR
parcel
list.
now. Yeah. But it wasn't like that before, and it was very targeted, really selective. Yeah.
Oh my God! Wow.
Yeah.
So we didn't get back. Which one would GC was your first one, and is it because you got ownership of that, or
I
is it
think it's because
you...
I pretty much led the coverage side, so the coverage driving of that campaign. I also helped my directors to write the strategy, the launch strategy, very, very involved, and conducted a lot of the gifting appointments. And it was my first big campaign.
So
Yeah,
what
so
advice would you give
always
to someone who is starting out and either going to agency or in-house, and you have to pitch? Because I feel like pitching to anything is scary. I'm not really a fan of pitching. But how would you ask them to... I feel like in this day and age, people are so in their phones and no one does the face-to-face meetings anymore. No one wants to be outside and just actually meet people.
Yeah, we push
Everyone's
for that.
What would you advise that? How could they pivot? How could they make themselves stand out? How could they make an editor take note? Because editors, you're granted there's an inbox of a press release every single minute. How do you get someone who's young, up and coming in the industry to be like, okay, this is how you should advise?
Yeah. I mean, I would say there's a huge importance in knowing your media, because we don't all sit there with newspapers and magazines physical anymore. just if you did like a little quiz,
Mm-hmm.
you know, who's the writer for this magazine? Who's the editor of this magazine? Who is a contributor? Like a lot of my team will know, have to say, FPT, great girls, because we make that a real priority. You can't pitch to an editor or a writer having never read anything
Anything
that
that
they've
they've written.
written.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. Do your research.
wild, wild.
Do your
So do your
research.
research about that particular editor, but also just do your research in general. Read, you know, look at styles of writing, look at what they've written about in the past, because there'll either be a tone of voice for that particular writer or there'll be a tone of voice of that page. So if you're pitching something that is completely off for them, they're not going to resonate with what you're pitching. I think it's really important. It is a little bit of ego stroking, but find an article that resonates with you and talk about that
And
within your pitch.
what you
Like, I
liked about
loved
it.
the fact that you wrote about this. I've been talking about this with my friends for such a long time. It was really refreshing to read your take on it. Just talk, because even when you're, you know, you think, oh, well, I'm pitching clothes. If you're
Yeah.
in fashion,
Yeah.
I'm pitching beauty. How deep can you go?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of really good writers that go in a little bit deeper. They do their research on the beauty side. You know, they're not going to write about something and say that it works wonders and it, you know, performs miracles if they haven't tried
Yeah.
it and done some deep research themselves. So don't try and just do a surface pitch. Kind of go a bit more in depth and, like, you know, cross your T's and dot your I's
But if
before you do
but
that.
let me say, if like in this day and age, everyone has a set, like, as you know, clients have a, I want this and I want that and I want this and this is the particular ones I what do you call it, coverage, the particular brands or the particular magazine,
Yeah, yeah.
blogs, blah blah, I want to be in. How do you, as an agent or working with for the client, strike that balance of what the client wants versus what the editor's writing about versus what you just said in terms of making sure you feel like you're communicating with the editor in a way? How do you find that balance of
I think it's
trying to please all
really
those?
important with clients, especially when you start working with them, to all be on the same page, right? Some clients are going to be kind of media ready straight away. They have all the assets, they have the good visuals, they have a good story to tell. And some clients have a really great product, but they haven't finessed all of those
Right.
things. So before you start promising any results, you have to make sure that you've outlined those things.
No,
You look
absolutely.
at the objectives of what they want as a business, right? I would say that at my agency, we do look at the business. I think it's really important to do that, because we can say, yeah, we'll get you into this, we'll do that, da, da, da. And then when the results don't come, then that's a bad point for our
Yeah,
agency,
yeah.
and that's bad for our reputation. So we try and lead with knowledge. We try and work out what they need, what they want, and what they need to do to get there. So I think that's really important. And that way you can guide them and say, look, you're going to get this kind of coverage. And then once you start building up momentum about your brand, and whilst you're doing that, you're going to get loads of calls about advertising, because the minute
Yeah.
magazines start seeing, the commercial team starts seeing you in one place, they're like, oh, they've got a bit of money, you know. So you've got to be prepared for that, and which ones that you go for and which ones where you spend your budget. So there's lots of different things and different elements of a successful PR launch or a successful PR campaign that you need to go with. But I would say, really importantly, just you and your clients need to be on the same page. You can't be on different pages, because then it's never going to
And
work.
this is it, right? And how do you steer and guide a client who thinks they're ready but are really not ready? Because there's some people that think they're ready. It's like,
Sometimes you have to be quite brutal and you have to give case studies.
okay.
Sometimes, like, brands that they know, a lot of clients will say, they're so similar to us, and they're getting all these
Yeah.
influences that, you know. And
Yeah.
I said, let me just break it down for you. This is where they started. Number one, you've been in the business for a year, and this business is 8 years old. Just because we see them, they're visually impactful as a business now, doesn't mean that they didn't start from where you're at now. So it is a journey, and nothing happens overnight. So sometimes you have to kind of give them a case study of a brand that they already know and love, or a brand that they are looking to be as successful as, to show them the journey that that brand went through
Right.
to
Right.
get to where they are.
No, that's very true because I feel like there are some, and rightly so, everyone's within their, you know, silos of this is my brand.
Mm.
They're so close to it. And they do compare. Well, this one's doing the same thing, and why are we not getting
We're
the same
better than
coverage?
them.
And
We've
we're
got better like
right.
product,
We've
or
got a better product. We do this and we do that, and it's like, how do you then kind of steer them into, like, I would say I don't do PR, but a lot of people come to me like, so Debs, how could I get into Vogue? And I'm like, guys, I can't help you. I can't do it. But it's everyone wants to get that because they see what someone else is doing, or they see, oh, this one got it. But it's true. You don't know what they did five
yeah,
years ago. You don't know
exactly.
what they did.
They might have done so much sampling. They might have, gifted
Yeah,
absolutely
yeah,
everybody.
yeah,
They might have. There's a journey
yeah,
for every
yeah.
brand to get to where, and especially in the world right now that is saturated with brands, beauty, fashion, the lifestyle. So you really do need to cut through the noise, and you need to start with why anyone should invest in
Right.
your brand, why they should write about it, why they should buy it, and start with that first. Don't try and run before you can walk,
It's easier said than done, I must say, because like I feel like even me sometimes I'm like, oh, do I need PR? My girl, no, no, I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. But in terms of, okay, 6 years at exposure, do you see all these amazing brands? Did you move to another agency before starting your own thing, or did you go from there
Yeah,
to?
I've been apart from some of the big ones, I've been head of PR and head of fashion at quite a few agencies in that time. So I've been in the business for 25 years. So, that's a
Experience,
long
guys.
that's a
Experience.
long time. So I've worked at some of the leading agencies. I've worked as head of fashion at M&C Saatchi, so Talk PR's head of
Yes,
fashion
yes,
there.
yes, yes.
We launched Bista Village
Oh,
and the
amazing.
young designers
Oh,
that
wow.
did pop-ups there. We worked on the Young Designers Collective. And that was really the start of Bista becoming a destination. It had always been there, but it wasn't cool. We were tasked with making it like destination and
Yeah.
making it cool. It was very tourist bus, kind of driven.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's a great day out for
Yeah.
us all,
Yeah. Yeah, it
and then you
really
go
is.
to Soho Farmhouse as well,
This is it, right? You just pair it so
Yeah,
hard and do
exactly.
a little day trip out of it. But through all that, like as you said, you've been in the business for quite a long
Yeah.
time. As a black woman, how did you find your rise within it? Because I have to admit, now it's getting better, but there's not a lot
Yeah, I
in
mean,
the
now
space, right?
I'm so happy.
Yeah.
I look across rooms and I'm like, oh my God, there's so many black girls, women of color in really big positions in
And really,
PR.
and big companies
Yeah,
as well.
in PR. So that is so
Yeah.
impressive because when I started out in PR in 2000, it was me, and I'm not going to name their names, but just a few other women of color in PR. And at my agency, there were only two of us. In a big
In
agency
an
like
agency of like how
Exposure.
many?
Yeah,
For example, like 100 and something,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And there's only two.
yeah.
How did you navigate that? Because for me, sometimes I feel like we adapt as we do. You have to adapt in any situation, not just because you are a person of color. But I feel like there's a more of a, for me anyway, I can my experience. You have to put on an armor before you walk through those doors. Did you find that for you?
Yeah, there was a lot of code switching to kind of just be comfortable in certain
Yes.
situations.
Yes.
And, when I started out in PR, like I said, I was one of probably about 5 in the whole country that I knew of anyway, black PR girls, and of a certain, like, coming from an immigrant
Yeah.
family,
Yeah.
a lot of the girls that I worked with were super posh, for want of a better word. They were very, very, very middle class,
Yeah.
if not upper middle class.
Yeah.
And they had like completely different backgrounds to me. Like I said, my dad actually worked in the city. We had a nice life, but it was still very different to
Yeah.
all of the people that I worked with. at the weekends they were going to their country home or back home to their parents in the home counties and stuff. And I was going to Essex.
Romford.
Or seeing my family in South London, Croydon, you know.
Yeah.
So it was just very, very different. So I had to learn to code switch. I didn't even know what code switching was.
Obviously, like at home, you were full, African family. And then to transition from, obviously, like you saw your aunties going
Very
from the law,
academic
very
and-
academic too. Did even your parents understand what you did?
No, my dad used to always say, and he was really clued up and super smart. And every time I said, "Oh, you like when I secured that Juicy Couture piece in the Evening Standard," I was like, "Oh my God, I'm so happy. I've got a double page spread in the Evening Standard." He went and bought it. And he was like, "I could only see Laura Craik's name. Where was your name?" And I was like, "Dad, I'm the PR. My name isn't in any coverage. And it will never be." And that went on for about a year.
Oh my God.
I
He would
can't see
expect
your name. I
to
can't see
be-
your name. Where's your name, Michelle?
Yeah,
Like-
yeah. I should want to see your name. Yeah.
There was no name, Dad. There won't ever be a name. There might be a name if someone does like a "What are you wearing today?" And the Evening Standard used to stop people and ask them what they were
Oh my
wearing
God,
way
yeah,
before
yeah,
social
yeah,
media. And I once
Wow,
appeared in.
that was a time.
Yeah,
yo,
I
guys.
once appeared in one of those, and that was when I could say to my dad, "Look, there's my name. It says Michelle Agyeman, PR from London," and that was his, his claim to fame, like that I'd actually had my name
Because they
in
always
something.
want to. Literally, my dad didn't respect my job until I had my name in Vogue.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
Until they see it, they don't.
So
know.
I didn't have anyone in my immediate or in extended family that even worked in media, like in
To understand
advertising
But I guess
or
your dad
anything.
would have had to code switch within the city because as
Yeah,
a black
definitely,
man,
definitely.
being in the
An
space that he was
African
in,
black
yeah,
man
literally.
at a Jewish-owned hedge fund. It was just unreal. It was very different for him. And I think he found that quite hard, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he could hide behind his academia. Yeah.
Because that's what it was, right?
Yeah.
It was numbers game. So if
Yeah.
you could do the
So he
numbers,
was like, I'm
was-
just really smart and I
Yeah.
can get through this. But with me, I was like, not well connected. I've
this
got
is
no
it.
one
It's
in
very
this
much like, "Oh,
industry.
what did you do over the weekend? And
Yeah.
where did you go for lunch? Or where did you
Yeah,
dine?
where
And
did you
go
do-
over the weekend?
Yeah,
And-
where
and
did
you're
you and your mum
like,
go shopping?
yeah,
And
exactly.
it was none of
I went
that.
to Harrods.
So
Well, no, I went to H&M.
yeah, no, Tammy girl.
yes, Tammy girl, yes.
Even if we were
Yes.
lucky, maybe Miss Selfridge or something
Yeah.
like that. But no, it was really difficult. I think that I had an easier ride than some.
Okay.
I
How
think
so?
some of my colleagues that didn't love the PR world and now completely out of it had a tougher time. And even when I'd been in the industry for like 5-6 years, I've had people come up to me recently. I'm talking about in this year and say to me, "Do you know what? You really supported me staying in PR. I was so over it. I didn't feel heard. I didn't feel seen because I saw you at this agency."
Yeah.
I'm not going to name the agencies, but that gave me
That hope.
the hope that I just had to
It
stick
was
it out.
possible.
But I just found it really difficult. And if it wasn't for you, it's quite heartwarming when that happens because you're like, "Oh my God, thank God you did," because look at you now. But they were so nearly going to give up so many times. But that one person that they saw,
It's so true.
Yeah.
It really is because it is a difficult position, like right, to be able to be like you see hundreds of them, and then it's like just one of you, and it's like how for me, I think it was my people pleasing. I always just wanted to fit in. I wanted to be nice, and I am nice, and I didn't want that narrative of the mean girl or the angry black girl,
Yeah.
or all those other tropes that they try to put on us. So for me, it was very much like just do the job, do it very
really
well,
well.
10 times as well,
Yeah.
and just keep
As your
your head
parents
down.
always told you.
Don't go and
especially
embarrass
African,
us.
especially African parents.
Don't
like,
go and embarrass the name.
yeah, no, I definitely agree with that, Debs, because what I did is I was very true to myself.
Yeah.
Like you said, I was nice and I am nice.
Yes.
That's really
Yes.
pivotal
That's
and
exactly- I
important
wasn't
for me.
playing nice.
I
was
wasn't
nice and
the
I am
code
nice.
switching was nothing to do with my like personality per se. So I got on with everybody. And, I even had, fellow women of color in the industry say like, how do you do
Yeah,
this?
yeah,
How do you
yeah,
do
yeah,
this? Why
yeah.
does everyone like you?
Yeah, yeah,
Like, and
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
oh, I
It's like,
think
why are
it's
you so
just
not?
because I'm
Yeah,
nice
yeah.
and I do the work and I get it done and I'm good at what I do.
Mm,
And it's fine. No one's ever going to really dislike you or pull you
mhm,
up if you're actually doing a really good job
yeah,
and you're nice with it and
yeah.
kind with it. And why do you have to be the mean girl? Why do you have to fit a stereotype?
Mm,
It's a stereotype that doesn't exist in most
yeah.
women of color, but we're just given that. It's like a
It's a
stamp
label, yeah. It's
on
a
us, a
label.
label
It's
that we never
expected.
asked
It's
for.
expected that
So
we are
why
gonna
am
be
I
that
going to
way.
feed that into that?
Yeah,
And why am I going to just display like that?
yeah,
Maybe behind closed doors at home,
yeah.
but
Yeah, you can
in
always vent. There's always every
in a
day. There's
work,
a whole. You work when you work in these environments. You vent
exactly.
whatever color you are, whatever race you are. There's vent on work stuff.
Yeah,
Like nothing's ever perfect. But
absolutely.
there is. Did you find that it was more of an emotional turmoil to like having to obviously be nice, but then also it came with all the other stuff that it came with and why the others were having such a difficult time. The industry is not as pretty and not as,
No.
friendly and welcoming. There are those people that are just going to literally push your buttons.
Yeah.
How did you find that balance? Or how did you not get to a point where you're like, I'm going to quit?
Yeah, I think every time I felt like quitting, because it wasn't always great.
Mm,
I've had some bad jobs, bad situations, but I think again, it is my upbringing, staying true to myself.
mm,
I just thought, again, I'm not going to fit that stereotype of having a chip on my shoulder. So
mm,
a lot of it was resilience and just
mm,
fighting through,
mm,
getting through.
mm.
Some situations were not right,
Yeah.
but it's not that I ignored them. I did call people out. I
Mm,
did all the things, but I did it in the Michelle way. I
yeah.
did it in the way that wasn't going to get me in steam.
Mm,
So
or
I,
have the backup to be like,
yeah,
oh, that girl, she's always
yeah,
complaining.
yeah, I had
Yeah.
to do it when it felt right. And I
Mm,
didn't ever push myself to just, kind of stand out for the sake of
mm,
standing out. If I thought something was wrong and if I thought something was being wrongly kind of put
mm,
on me, I would try and find someone
mm.
in my corner to talk
That's
to.
another thing. Did you have allies? Because I feel
I
like in those
had,
spaces you do
yeah,
need
I had
allies.
allies. They didn't look like me,
Yeah, yeah.
but that's fine.
How did you know they were allies? What made them allies?
I think little
Because
things like,
sometimes they're allies and then they're not really allies.
yeah, no, I think I've been so lucky. A lot of my directors, as I was coming up through the ranks, were the ones that would say, "She's so good. Like, we need to accelerate her. We need to promote her. Look at what she's achieved."
Mm,
At Exposure, we used to do these team meetings where we all stood in the foyer, and there was like 100 people, and we would do a big like agency-wide
mm,
meeting, and within that, you would get kind of called out in a good
mm,
way
mm.
for great
You got
work,
this,
good
yeah,
campaigns.
yeah,
That
yeah.
happened to me a few times. I won a couple of awards. I
Mm.
won a couple of um,
Oh, award winner. She
yeah,
didn't tell us that.
like
Award winner on the
awards as in
couch.
in the
Yeah, but
agency.
still, award
Yeah,
winner.
and
Still an
yeah,
award
it
winner.
was great. It was great. And also just accolades for coming up with good
Mhm,
ideas.
mhm.
Like I learned how to channel my creativity through brainstorming
Right.
at Exposure because they were so on it.
Mhm.
When I say they moved like an advertising agency,
Right.
they moved like Mother, they moved
Mm,
like M&C Saatchi,
mm.
they moved like an advertising agency. So we
Right.
were
Rather than
sitting,
just a
yeah, we were
pre-standalone, yeah.
sitting, we were all from
And
intern
exposed
to,
to
we
all that.
had to do brainstorms. You had
Oh
to,
wow.
you couldn't really send a message saying, oh, I
Yeah.
can't make this
Yeah.
brainstorm. You had to
You had
make
to be there.
brainstorms.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to get
Yeah.
noticed
You had to
and
come with the
build your
ideas, yeah.
career, yeah, you needed to come with ideas
Mm,
like that then went through to pitches
mm,
and they put them in the pitches. And if they won the pitch, there were
right.
always prizes and things like that.
And in terms of like what you just said in having those allies, right? Once you enter those spaces, I guess going in, you didn't have your backup, like you said. You were
Mm.
you were literally trying to just go nice. You know how to do the job, doing the job, and I feel like in this day and age, going into the spaces, there's more of us. Don't get me wrong, but there's still that hesitance and that also that's a bit of fear of like actually, am I good enough? Are they going to like me?
Yeah.
Am I having to be the angry black person? Am I going to have these gaslighting moments, these microaggressions? What would your advice for someone to deal with that?
I mean, I can only speak from experience, but I think stay true to yourself. I think it's really important to be authentic. If you are a little bit feisty, let that come through, but just be clever about it. But,
In what way?
stay true to yourself. I think, you can stick up for yourself. And if some people have just got more of a outspoken personality, it doesn't mean they're rude, doesn't mean they're aggressive, doesn't mean that they're an angry black woman. They just like, some people quieter, some people are louder. Just express yourself really as articulately as you can. Don't leave room for people to kind of pinpoint a certain thing that then, again, puts you back into that box and puts you back into that stereotype. So just, I mean, I can, from my experience, I just led with authenticity, and I was just my true self, and I could guide my way out of or around sticky situations by just being smart about it and keeping my cool.
That keeping your
Because you
cool is a
can,
big,
that is
big thing.
really
Yeah,
hard, because
yeah.
there's been a few times, especially as I got older, when I was like, literally, I'm going to explode. And then I just have to like calm myself down. Many a toilet break. Just go into the ladies. Go into the ladies. Have a little cry if you need to. Little cry, little call on the phone to someone that you trust. Whatever it may be. Just don't go in with fire.
Don't you feel exhausted
I
by
think
those
you would
moments?
feel like that in most industries, though. Like, I think there's always going to be moments when you feel like that.
Because I feel like there's in recently, like I feel like there's a handful. I've spoken to a few friends, and there's a handful of people who are going freelance, who are leaving those corporate spaces, right? Because they're exhausted. They don't want to play the game anymore. They don't want to be the nice one. They don't want to. They're ready to be that angry black woman, but they don't want that to be their title. So then they withdraw. They leave incredible spaces where they could have thrived, or if they'd given the opportunity to thrive. I feel like a lot of people are being robbed of roles that they could really be great in, but because they just don't have the bandwidth or just the energy to go through that day to day, it's robbing a lot of people of like some amazing opportunities and amazing spaces.
Yeah, I'm
What do you
seeing
say
that.
to that?
I'm seeing that a lot more, I would say, in the last 2 years, post
Yeah.
Black Lives Matter, post COVID.
Yeah.
I feel like, if I'm going to be really real here, I feel like there was a lot of opportunities on the table, a lot of support, and gradually, if not all disappeared, those opportunities and that
dispersed,
support
yeah.
have dispersed.
Yeah.
And I just think it's much harder now. I feel in some ways, I work for myself, so it's a bit different. I feel like in some ways it's harder now. I feel like I'm going back to my 20s and having to code switch like that.
Really?
Just to get through doors and just to, I'm still me, and I own my own business, but I'm still having to
play those games. No, absolutely.
More so now
Absolutely.
than I've
Done
had to for a long time. Yeah.
Okay,
And I think that relates back to what you were saying. I feel like a lot of women, they're either exhausted from having to do that, or they're having to do it.
Yeah, having to push through. In terms of like moving from being at exposure, going to other agencies, then building yourself into like account director, director of department, all of that. What made you then go, I'm going to build my own?
That was around COVID.
Okay.
So around COVID, I was homeschooling. Eek, the worst time of my life. Homeschooling, we didn't know what was happening. So it was hard to plan ahead, hard to kind of work out. You were just navigating as you went along.
And also, before we go into that, actually, how did you navigate motherhood, being a wife within those spaces? Because I feel like in those spaces, you become this person. They all know you, Michelle from blah, 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 Michelle, blah, blah, blah. and you are put on this pedestal, and then you go and have a family or you get married, and then they start like, did you find that? Because
Yeah,
I feel like
definitely. I felt like I just was not an imposter at all, but it felt really different once I got married and had my first son. I just felt like
do people treat you differently?
completely.
Like the editors, people, like, because you're out of the system for a little bit, right?
Yeah,
At
the
least a good
editors.
6 months, if not 9 months to a year.
Yeah.
Do they feel like, I feel like in our industry, out of sight, out of mind. You could
Mm,
do all the great campaigns, all the great things, but you
yeah.
leave for a second,
Yeah.
and that's where it's like, oh, you're gone.
I
Did you
think the
find
good
that
thing
too?
with press, it was kind of fine
Mm.
because, well, like I said, we all the editors that I knew really well, we were all like having kids and getting married all
Okay.
at the same time. So it was kind of like some people would be off for 6 months, some people would be off for 4 months, some people were off for a year or longer, and that was fine. I think it was, kind of wanting, for me anyway, I wanted my teams and my clients and my bosses to just still see me as the person that I
Right,
was. But
right.
instead, I felt like I had to downgrade my
What do you
new
mean?
life, like
Not show that
not
you're a mother
show,
too
yeah,
much,
not
not
like
show
not be
you're.
too chatty about the baby, not be too
Mm.
chatty about new married life, like just
Try
try
and
and,
keep them like
yeah,
you're still
yeah.
committed, you're still
Yeah,
in it,
like
you're
I can
still.
still work really late. I can still do
I can
this.
still
I
go
can still do
outside and be
that.
in the pub.
Yeah,
I can
like
still be.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I've got a nanny just. And so, we're just
Yeah.
about affording this. So, I can do another half an hour,
Yeah.
just never wanting to say, oh, actually, I've got to get home.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or, there was definitely a change there.
Mm.
And I didn't notice it until a lot later
Do you think
when I
women are
had my
penalized for
second.
that? All women, or particularly women of color? Because I feel like men don't have to go through that. They get, paternity leave, but they're not the ones who have to carry the baby. They're the
No.
ones who have to like feed, like the first couple of months. No offense to you fathers, but like it is all about the mother. Like you are recovering from the trauma of giving birth.
Yeah.
You are having to breastfeed or feed or be bonding with your baby. You
Yeah.
are having, so you do, your hormones change, everything you change. You can't go from like this, high
Yeah, I
on,
can
blah, blah,
just
blah. I
do
could do it all. I can
everything.
be
Yeah.
outside. I could just come to then now having to manage that. So it's like when you came back into the agency, how did you then work to, find that balance? Because the reality is you couldn't do it all. But in our heads, we're like, I can, I'm back, I'm back, I'm
Yeah,
back.
I would say that those were the jobs. Remember I said there was a few jobs that weren't great. I would say those were the jobs that
Right,
weren't great.
right.
Again, just because, I can't really blame the bosses, the owners. Some of them hadn't even had children
Yeah,
yet.
yeah.
It only takes a boss or your direct, like, line
Yeah,
manager
yeah.
to have a baby to understand how that even works. But
Or sometimes
when,
they have the baby, but they have more support.
yeah, and some of them had like a
They have a
nanny
whole,
from the day
exactly.
dot,
They don't understand
and
that
all
you
of that.
can't,
My
yeah.
mum was still working when I first had my first child, so they were straight into
Yeah,
nursery, and
yeah.
it was only my child that was there 8 till
Till
6,
yeah,
like
literally
full
full day.
10-hour,
Yeah,
11-hour
yeah,
day for a
yeah.
small 1-year-old was a lot.
Yeah, of course.
And it was heartbreaking for me because I was like, oh my
You're missing
God,
all that
this is
time.
awful.
Yeah.
But I couldn't really show that in the workplace. And those jobs weren't great just because I don't think they really understood. I don't know what they expected from me. I still did the hours, I still did the work, I was still producing amazing results. I was managing teams then as well. And I felt like I didn't really get the support from my big bosses to help me kind of navigate my team,
Yeah.
who all of a sudden had me on tap and me kind of really driving everything to me having to
pull back.
yeah, and not work Fridays. So when I had my first child, I decided I wanted to do 4 days. So I didn't work Fridays because he was in nursery so long days. I wanted one day
Of
where
course,
he
you
was
had
with me.
complete.
So they didn't really understand that. And you could, the snide
Yeah.
remarks about that Friday. Oh, yeah, we can't do that on a Friday because Michelle's not in. It's all of that kind of stuff. So it's like a different thing. It's like you already have to navigate being a black woman in the industry. Then you have a baby, and then you have to navigate being a mother in the industry. And then you have another child, and you have to navigate being the mother of 2 children in the industry. It's a lot. But yeah, those jobs weren't great. And for those reasons, I don't think
Mm.
they were very supportive of that time.
And in terms of like really navigating that, is that did you tend to feel like, oh, maybe this is not the industry for me, or did you seek support elsewhere in terms of like, okay, those jobs weren't good, but then maybe people that you have networked with in your other agencies who have had babies, or the few Black women that have, you
Mm.
know, did you get a sense of there was a community there, or did you feel alone in that?
I felt alone. And then when I make my mind up about something, then I'm like, I'm out.
Right.
Yeah. So I've resigned twice in that period of having
The kids.
kids. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you'd go back again, what would you do differently to like, let's give an advice to a woman who's in the industry, thinking of having children, trying to juggle it all? What advice would you give her in terms of how to handle those situations?
I think, again, I do think it's so much better now because I see whole teams getting pregnant at the same time at agencies now, and no one bats an eyelid. That was not the case. Not even, I had kids quite late, but not even when I had my first child 12 years ago was it like that.
Yeah.
So I think it's very different now. I'm not saying it's completely fixed, but I think it's quite different. But I would say, when you're choosing a role or when you're choosing an agency or an in-house role, have a look at the culture and look at things like that. If you are thinking about having a family, or who says I can't do my job and continue to be promoted and to rise in my field and my craft because I have just got married or because I have just had a baby? Who says? So I think if you look at a business and agency and there's the right kind of culture, you can see that there's other women
Who've
in
had.
similar positions. And or you can, sometimes your boss may have not, that out of choice, may not
Yeah.
have had a child, but you can see that they are nurturing and encouraging about that. It's whether you want to do the job. If you want to do the job, if you want to see that as a easy way out to like getting off early and stuff like that, then, good for you, but it's not going to work. So I would say look for that within the culture of the place that you're going to be in, and, try and find places, places of work that, are kind, and can work around that. As long as you want to keep propelling in your career,
Yeah.
that shouldn't stop you. So I
No,
think it's down to the individual. I was
it's
still really
it's true.
driven after babies. My priorities were a little bit different, but I was still really driven. I think in some cases, especially with my second, more so.
So, and how did you also navigate, like, from, single, being outside with everyone, to now having a partner? And because I feel like career women are sometimes penalized because we're like, you can't have it all. You have to be home with your boyfriend, or you have to be home with your husband. And I was like, but they like me because I've got a career and I've got it. This. How did you navigate that transition from being single, living this fabulous life, to then wife, to then mother, to then, what advice would you give women out there that are
Oh gosh.
transitioning? Because I feel like people are doing it later as well now.
Yeah. I
It's
did it
like,
later as
yeah.
well. So I had my second child just before I hit 40.
Okay.
So I had my first child at 36, second child just before I turned 40. Um, ooh, it's a really hard question.
I guess it's up to the individual, but I think just give us a sense of like, what would you, if you could go back, or
I think
if you could
I think
give
what
some advice
yeah,
to.
my advice would be have some boundaries. Set some boundaries from the start. If you're
Okay.
driven and you still want to do the job that you want to do or be in the career that you want to be, that is going to shine through. So don't think because you've got some boundaries, like, I'm really sorry, but Fridays are my day off. So please do not put a quick Zoom call in, or it's my day off. Have some boundaries. Choose the things. I think as a mum, I've learned loads of things, right? And one thing, I listened to Emma Grady on something, and she said, and I was like, that is exactly what I do. She said, choose the non-negotiables. So choose
Yes,
the
I've heard her say that.
non-negotiables, right? And it might have been on here with you. I don't know, or I don't know. I've just heard her say it, and I was like, oh my God, that's what I do, because you choose your non-negotiables. So if it's like, I don't want to miss my Friday pickup, school drop off and pick up, then tell your team, tell your bosses that you will not miss that drop off and pick up, because it's important to you that you do that, and then you're fully
Work around
theirs.
it. Yeah.
But you know, or if it's, I won't miss a school play, or you know, between 5 and 6 I'm doing homework, so I can't be interrupted in that time. I'm happy to do a Zoom call after, you know, or answer a question. But between like, so choose your non-negotiables. As a family person, as a mother, you have to have some boundaries, because otherwise it just won't work. And it won't work for your kids either, because they won't know whether they're coming or going. Is my mum the kind of mum that's going to miss this, or is she the kind of mum that will never miss this? Choose your boundaries. No, sorry. Choose your non-negotiables and have boundaries.
Yeah.
So I think that's a way of navigating it, you know, and with your partner as well, just make sure that they're pulling their weight.
Amen to that. Amen. Oh gosh. So let's go back to starting your agency, COVID, homeschooling.
Yeah,
Tell
so I
us.
was homeschooling. I was working for an agency.
Were you
I
happy in that agency?
I was very
Oh,
happy,
you okay?
actually. I was
Okay.
really happy. But COVID just threw everything into the unknown. So we just didn't know what we were doing. It was just really hard to navigate, because all of a sudden the government was saying, if your child
Yeah.
is within school age,
Yeah.
you have to become a teacher and a homeschooling person and a dinner lady and a this and a that. And you need to drop everything you're doing. You could have a CEO role,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah. That's true. You
still,
still had to be.
unless you had a nanny,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
still had to homeschool. We had
Well,
a
actually, if you had a nanny, they couldn't come unless they
yeah.
were living in
Well,
with
we
you,
had a
right?
nanny, and there were parts of that time where our nanny Cheryl couldn't come, but then when she could come, and when we were allowed for her to kind of choose her families, so we nanny shared with another family. So
Right.
those were the 2 houses that she would
could
go
be
into. She then said, I'm a nanny, not a teacher, so I'm not doing the homeschooling part. And not in the best possible way. She wasn't being,
Yeah.
but she was just saying, I'm
This is
a
not.
full-on nanny.
Yeah.
I am not a teacher.
Yeah.
I would prefer to take them out into the wild,
Yeah.
take them to the forest, to the parks. We'll build things, we'll make things, we'll cook, we'll bake.
So true.
But that is what I'm doing. So we just had to go,
Oh, okay.
okay. And in between that, we homeschooled.
Yeah.
But the whole process, it was just the unknown. And I don't think we knew as a business. I was like second in command to my boss, and we were just like, what is going on? How do we navigate this? And what happened there is, because we were a small boutique agency, it became really difficult for me to keep up my role as associate director within a small business, where even our clients were finding it hard to navigate. Our clients were luxury Italian outerwear brands that had literally brutally been affected by COVID in Italy. So it was really difficult for them. And then there was me homeschooling all day and only being able to really jump on work around 3. But I was happy to like put in the hours, get the work done, but it just wasn't working for my agency. So I kind of just thought, do you know what? I'm going to start my own agency. I'm just going to go alone. I've got 20 years experience. I know what I'm doing. I've learned a lot from my boss at the time about running a small business. That was really important, actually. And, you know, she also taught me some really important lessons about attention to detail. And like, it almost took me back to growing up with Ghanaian parents. It was that you have to work 10 times harder, because she was a black agency owner.
Was she?
Yeah, she was just like, our standards were
Triple.
Ivy League.
Yeah.
Our standards were so high, and I've kept that through to this agency because I'd never worked in an agency where I had a black boss. I'd never worked in an agency where I worked for or a brand where I had a black founder. So her ideals of where we should be in terms of everything that we put out to the client was just like gold.
Yeah.
Everything had to be top notch. You know, there was no room. There was no AI. There was no chat GBT. There was no any of that. So, you know, your grammar, your spelling, like check it a million times with.
You can't send a press
There was no
release out and then
Grammarly
just like
either.
wow.
So there was none of that. So it's just like, anyway, there were standards that I really learned from working for a black founder and a black boss because they couldn't afford the mistakes that my previous bosses had.
We just couldn't. We just couldn't.
When she had luxury outerwear Italian brands that would spot the typo from the black founders agency where they probably wouldn't have spotted it at a big
we just held
agency
to a
that
high
we know.
standard. It's unfortunate, but it's
So
like one of
it
those
was
things.
it was just unfortunate that it wasn't working. So I was just like, look, I'm going to start my own thing. I'm going to kind of go down, at the time, I was going to go down a very beauty route because we had a lead for a very big brand that was coming into the UK and I'd already started talking to them. So I was like, this is us. We're going to launch with this brand, celebrity-owned brand. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
We went
Can you say
very
what the brand
far. Pattern. So we went very far down but sadly we didn't win the business in the end, but it went to a really great agency. And that was that. So, but I'd already started the business. I'd already handed my notice in. I'd already built a website, started a social. I was like, eek, ah. And then 3 months later, we were contacted. So we were actually approached by Daily Paper, which is a very established Dutch streetwear fashion brand. And they approached us, black owned, all black owned, and independently owned as well. And they approached us to support them in their launch. And then we worked with them for another 4 years. It was so bizarre. On the day of us pitching, they were being pitched to by the big agencies that we all know and love. And they had seen that the head of PR had seen me comment on one of the agents, because I've been in the industry for such a long time. I know pretty much all the founders. So she'd seen me comment on an agency founder's, socials, like congratulations on winning something. And then she just clicked onto me and then saw that I was an agency owner and I was black. And she was like, oh my God, this girl's so nice. And she's like saying congratulations to another agency owner. And people in PR just don't do that. I do it all the time because they're my friends. So if
they've done
or
well,
Agency 11 win something, I'm going to be like, well done, Laura.
Absolutely.
Well done, Virginia. Well done, Lauren. It's really important to me because first and foremost, they're my friends. And if they're doing well in their businesses, there's enough room for everybody. So I'm always that person and I always lead with that. And she found me like that. And then she messaged me on...
Imagine if you didn't start.
Yeah.
Imagine if you had the thought and you just thought, I'll do it another time or I'll do it in a couple of months.
Yeah.
Because
that's how she found me, because we were not established enough for us to be on the pitch list. So, as a new brand coming into a new territory, they just went down the line of,
what
the
do you
big
mean the pitch
agencies.
list? How does
so
that work?
like working out which agencies can pitch for your brand. So
oh really? There's a list like that?
No. People, you'll get onto the pitch list, as in the list from the brand. So the brand will go. They might even ask someone, or they might ask an editor, who shall I invite to pitch for my brand?
Right.
And we recently were approached by a brand that you'd put us forward for. So, that's how it works. So that's how you get on the pitch list. So they would never have found us because we were only 2 months old. No one knew who we were. We didn't have any budget to shout about us.
And I think that's also another thing I must say. As a company founder myself, it's very much like, sometimes I'm like, how do I get, please God, I'm not complaining, and I've been so blessed. I've literally never had to pitch for
So
a
booked
job.
and busy.
I have been booked and busy and everything. Someone says, just say you're referral only because that's what you do. But I do want to obviously expand, but I feel like as a small business, we I don't want to make excuse, but like I feel like there's so much that we don't know.
Yeah.
There's so much that the others just have access to
And there's
straight
so much
away, and
that we can't do
right,
based on budget.
based
Like,
on budget, based on size, based on just the fact that we are really just bootstrapping everything ourselves. We are, and sometimes like when people like try and be like, "Hey, this, can you do this?" I was like, guys, this is not a favor. I need you to pay me
yeah,
because
this
this is
comes
me.
with a fee.
This comes with a fee, but it's like automatically we should be less.
Yeah.
We should be able to do it for a big discount. We should
Yeah.
be grateful that they're asking us. It's like,
Yeah.
I know for a full fact
Yeah.
that the other agencies are not doing it
No.
for free. I know for a full fact they're not even giving half the things I'll
Yeah.
give you.
Yeah.
And that you're willing to pay them triple.
Yeah.
But for me, oh, Debs, can you? Why do you think that is? How can we change that narrative?
It's really difficult. I think the main thing is we need to all speak out about this a little bit more. I think there's been a few opportunities when I haven't spoken out about that. You know, most of our leads come from other founders of other agencies
Referring.
that are white.
Really?
Not one
Really?
of, apart from you, of course, not one of my
I will always put
other,
people on. Like I'm always like,
you know,
go to this person.
yeah, when someone contacts us, so the majority of our business is through referral. Because we don't have the cash to do any kind of fancy campaigns or to do a social media campaign or a big party
outreach and all
to
that,
kind
yeah.
of talk about our agency. We're turning 5 in January. We might do something then, but we haven't
Oh my gosh,
to date.
pandemic was 5 years ago,
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
I know.
Oh
So,
my God.
when you're just like, we need to talk about it more. People need to be held accountable. We will often say a lot, well, there's room for us all, let's all help each other. And I think we stand by our word and we're accountable for those words, right? But not everyone is. A lot of people say that there's enough room and they want to help and all of that. But in the same breath, they don't actually do
They're
it.
the ones cock
So,
blocking, excuse my language.
yeah,
They're the
so
ones really just not
please,
literally.
don't say it if you're not going to do it.
Right?
And also, we should be helping each other a lot more. Why are all my referrals from my fellow white agency founders? If there's something that they can't take on because they've got a similar brand, so there's a conflict of interest, or maybe sadly it's too small for them, but fine for us, they'll pass it on to me. And then it's up to us to win it and get them on board. But, I get that from a lot of agency founders that are from non-colour.
But do you think it's because we still in that space of there can only be one? You feel like there's a scarcity of, if I give it to Michelle, that client or that person is then not going to come, even though sometimes they can't even do it, right? They can't do it because they are too small, they conflict, or they whatever it is. I think it's that, I don't know, it's a bit of a disservice to ourselves. Like you said, I'm ready to put people on. I believe in this enough for us, but not everybody has that mentality. Everyone wants to kind of gatekeep because I got there first. I worked this hard.
I've worked
to get
this
it.
hard. Like I
worked hard to get this contact. So why should I share it with you? Like, we want other people to feel the pain that we did in order to climb up to where we've climbed up
and
to.
that's the most
And
ridiculous
it's just so
situation.
sad. It's just like, why?
And you
why
don't
is
see
that?
this as much amongst black men.
You think?
No. I think
You think it's
women,
women?
I think it's because I am female, maybe I feel it more, but I see a lot of men of colour that are making it and they are bringing in their whole crew in one way or another. It's like, again, I don't like naming names, but there are a few people that I feel they're not going to bring in their friends just because they're their friends.
Yeah.
They're going to bring in their friends because their friends are amazing at what they do. So they're going to find roles and, you know,
Yeah.
stuff for them to do within their area. So like they're all coming up, they're all making the money, they're all propelling in their fields because one of them has made it or one of them has in a room, you know? And I think, you know, I've been reading a lot and listening to a lot of people that have really made it. And something that a lot of people have been saying is I need to firmly get into that room first before I bring everybody in. And I don't know, there's an element of sense in that.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what some people are doing.
It's true because they're
They're
don't get me
like,
wrong.
I need to really establish myself in this
There is,
space
I must
before
say,
I can actually help you
exactly.
or help anyone else.
Be able to help because it's true. Whatever I do is going to reflect on whoever I bring in, right? So therefore, I need to understand the lay of the land. I need to solidify myself in there. I need them to trust me. I think that's the biggest thing. I need them to trust me in order for me to then say, okay, then go to this person for them to really feel, because it is that level of once you get in there, most of the time, no one looks like you.
No.
So therefore, to be like, hey, I'm bringing all these people, I kind of get that. But there is, I've felt in recent times that I'm like, oh my God, why didn't they tell me about it? So, oh God, you know, what, it just it gets into my head sometimes. And I just have to remember, okay, that's just, it's okay. There's enough for everyone. And it wasn't your time. And what is for you won't miss you. And all of that things. But it's easier said than done, I must admit.
And just going back to your question on that, I would say Daily Paper were a really great example of an agent, a brand that trusted in my expertise because the agency itself was only 2-3 months old.
That's so true.
They trusted in my expertise. I'm sure they did their due diligence and went out there and asked a few people because they're really well connected. But we won the contract above big agencies. When you think about the big agencies out there, the fashion agencies, they were all in the pitch list, right? And we won because one of the founders in particular just said, in 6 months' time, I'm not sure how important we will be once the launch is done, dusted, we've opened the store in the UK, to these agencies, because we will be one of their relatively smaller paying, fee paying brands, and how much drive and effort will they put into it. But what I saw in Michelle, which is what he said, was that I saw someone that authentically wanted to represent us from start to finish. And the launch and the store launch was just the beginning. And I know that everything that they did for us was going to come from a place of integrity and also a place of lived experience. Like, so they would understand us more than maybe a big agency that didn't have that kind of representation. So that's why they went with us. But I think that's why a lot of brands haven't gone with us that are Black owned as well. So they will just be like, they're still a relatively young agency. No, we're not. We're 3 years old. Or no, we're not. We're 4 years old. That one person in the agency has all the experience, which is me. I've now built my team up and they're brilliant. Anywhere else, no one can poach them, by the way. But anywhere else, you know, I'm sure loads of agencies will try and poach them in time, but they're staying with me for now. Those brands that have not come to us, a lot of the time, they've thought it was a safer option to go to the bigger one.
And they didn't get lost.
Yeah. Honestly, I've had so many, we get so many of the brands that have had a not so great experience at maybe a bigger agency. And the bigger agencies are amazing, by the way. This is not me saying, oh, only come to a boutique agency. It's just that the way bigger agencies work, it's not the format.
Yeah.
It's, you know, we can
They've
do
got too
better
much
work.
on their books.
Yeah, we can do better
so they
work.
can give you the granular attention that you sometimes need.
And we can see a lot of scope of to be creative and to be creative with budgets as well, because we're not as used to huge budgets. So the stuff that we do, everyone's like, oh my God, what caterer did you use? What budget did you have? And we're like,
Yeah. Yeah,
not
yeah.
much.
I know that feeling.
Maybe a little bit of,
Yeah.
stuff from my
Yeah.
house.
Yeah. 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 I kind of made this.
I'm really into interiors,
Yeah.
so like
I
I
did a
just bring all
DIY.
of my stuff.
Like I do.
Yeah,
I bring everything
yeah,
from my house, guys. This
yeah.
is literally from my house.
It's just how you work when you're a small business and a black-owned business, person of color-owned
And I
business.
think that's an asset, though. We the resilience that we have and the fortitude that we have to be like, okay, I'm going to make this work. It's not as big. Of course, I would like to get the big agency budget, but I don't have it. But I also need to, like you said, do twice as much work to make sure it's literally gold standard, right? So how am I going to achieve that? You do have to be resilient. You do have to call in favors. You do have to look at the budget and be like, okay, I can do this and do this. Maybe do a duplicate of this and blah, blah, blah. So we are agile and we are able to just make it work as we always do. We make it work, So it's like, I feel like that's an asset and I wish more people would see it as an asset. But I think to what you said, we also in the community have to speak up a bit more.
Yeah.
We have to then be like, hey, I've heard this person's looking, or hey, have you heard of this agency, or hey, oh, did you see what Debs did last time with this person? Maybe this could work for you, and just really just build that.
And like, if
community.
you've got an expertise in one area, especially if there's no conflict, if you're an experiential event agency and you get a gig in and that brand also needs publicity, then you call a publicity agency, and vice versa.
Yeah.
We get a brand in, they're like, we want a big build, something, then we work with a production company. It's about looking around the space and the industry and working out how we can just support each other. Because I think that's just a better way to work.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's
tried and tested and proven.
It really
works.
is, and it works. And I think I think we're getting better. Don't get me wrong, but there's still some for me anyway. I've been in this be your own boss space for 2 years, and I found like my eyes have opened. But there's definitely things where I'm just like, I thought we were friends. Yeah, I thought this was gonna be, But sometimes you just can't rely on that friend, or that friend is not gonna recommend you, or that friend is not gonna support you, and you're just like, oh, it's a little bit disheartening. But also you just have to keep it moving, and you have to keep pushing and just find. I feel like navigating is part of being your own boss. You just have to navigate the challenge that's in front of you, and then the next challenge that's in front of you, and that's where the resilience come in. And for me, I never thought I'll be my own boss. I was always a worker. From the age of 15, I was always a worker, and I was a hard worker. And now to be like, the buck stops with me. I have to do my taxes and this. I have to find an accountant, right? I'm trying to find an accountant. If anybody knows an accountant, please let me know.
A really good one, actually.
Please, okay. Let's share that resource.
I will.
And just literally be like, wow, am I doing this right? Am I like, I don't know, just trying to find our own way. And I feel like that's where sometimes we do get so far behind, and we are not able to progress or propel and be a big agency like the rest, because we don't have. I know someone who's literally left just before me from our corporate job, and all of a sudden they've got an office, they've got a team of 20 people, they've got big campaigns. I'm like, how are you doing this?
Yeah, I've always wanted to understand that, because I see that all the time.
Literally.
I see that all the time. There's a few businesses that started around the same time we did. And that's the only part where I feel a bit disheartened, right? Because I know that I put the work in, and I know that
more than not saying they don't work hard, but like we know
the only thing that I would say that I don't do enough of is maybe a bit more kind of personal profiling and just being a bit more visual.
Yeah, but I don't think they even were visual. They just literally came and got. And
no, but what I'm saying is, I think that's what, unfortunately, we have to do to just stay current and stay out there. Whereas I see a lot of my, people that I know in the industry that started a business like 2, maybe even 3 years after ours, and are much bigger.
Literally thriving, got the big clients, got the big budgets, doing the big events, and I'm just like,
and I'm like, how did they do that?
How are you doing that? How are you doing that? Because it's like, what?
Is that, again, could that be network and someone else saying, look, I think this girl is doing this great thing within their community and within their network and their friends and their editor friends. You know, I'm yet to see that really happen. We do get, like I said, we do get mostly referrals, and that is really great. But the big ones and the things that are going to shift the needle and like change things a lot, still waiting for those.
I hear you. So what are you doing differently with future brand thinking? How are you setting yourself up? Having worked in all the agencies, in-house agency, what do you call it? How are you making yours stand out and be the agency that you have loved at being in back in the day?
Yeah, I think with future brand thinking, we lead with kindness. So I think my team and the people, without the people, there's no agency.
Amen.
So I feel like one of the things I'm really proud of is all the things I hated about previous agencies do not exist within my agency. So it's led with kindness. It's like a really big thing for me. It sounds all a bit airy fairy and hippie, but it is led
Yeah,
with kindness.
yeah.
And out of that, I get the best results from my teams. And they work so hard. Like there's only 3 of us core, you know, full-time
Yeah,
team
yeah.
members, right? And the results and the campaigns and the things that we do, it feels like we should have a team of 10. And there's only ever 3 of us working on all the events, all the stuff. So I feel like the reason why my team are so good and they've really, really grown within their roles is because we lead with kindness and it's a safe space. The environment that we work in is open. I'm so open to youthful insights because I'm like nearly 18 years older than my team. However, we all have a great time. We all love working with each other. But what I find really useful is their take on a lot of things. Whether they have the experience or not doesn't really matter. As long as they really want to work hard and they want to achieve the results, I'm really interested in the way they look at things is completely different. And I have to accept that to the way I look at things. And I'm really open to that. And I think that makes us really different. I'm not 25 years in the game to say, we do things like this. We do, and like, you know, I'm institutionalized and, you know, I have to have things done in this way. I'm open to change.
And
I'm open to newness. And I think that's what makes us future thinking.
Yeah.
So the way we do things is very untraditional. You know, if a brand comes to us and they just want straight down the line coverage, ain't gonna work. The reason why is because unless they've got budget to spend on advertising, they're not gonna get the coverage. So we need to be a bit more creative and future thinking with what we do to achieve those results. Like I said, there's a journey.
Yeah.
So we're working with a beauty client that's now getting some really good traction coverage wise. And that's because they've believed in our vision and our strategy for how they were going to get there. And at times, you know, they were a bit like, is this really going to happen? But we were like, yeah, just do this simple thing, do that. You know, this is the strategy. Let's
And
stick
it's
to
a
the
journey.
strategy.
It's a real
Let's stick
journey.
to the journey. And now we're ending the year. We were with them yesterday for a celebratory lunch, and we just can't believe how far we've come. Yeah. So I think what I'm doing differently is I'm leading from team up, right? The client is still very, very important,
of course.
but the way we service the client is very different to a lot of agencies. I think a lot of agencies say we're an extension of your marketing and your PR team. We really are. It feels like we're in-house at all our clients. And I think they really benefit from that because we're always looking, when they're looking at the bottom line, we're looking at the bottom line. When they're looking at sales, we're looking at sales. We're not traditional PR where we're just looking at,
Just
you
your
know,
press clippings,
coverage. Yeah, like that's a
yeah.
tiny part of our job now. You know, a big part of our job is working out what kinds of coverage is actually going to equate to sales.
And
What's the commercial benefits of appearing in that title? Like, what's the point if it's
literally
not gonna
do you get a
drive
clipping just to
any
get a clipping, or
Yeah,
are you doing it because it's going to drive something.
Yeah.
And I love
Or
what you
even brand awareness or like positioning. So we do a lot with our clients that's positioning based, like where do you want to be? Who's your audience? Like, how do we want you to be positioned in the UK? And that makes such a big difference. And clients really have to trust you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear that. And I love what you said about team, right? And I think my biggest thing is trying to build a team, because no one can do it alone. You do need a team.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I also feel like I find it difficult because everyone now is pivoting to be a social media personality, right? Or everyone's pivoting to be straight their own boss. How did you build your team, and what characteristics did you look for, and how long did it take? Because sometimes I feel like maybe my thing is, oh, I'm not finding anyone. Let me just forget it and do it myself. But
Oh,
I
no.
guess, that resilience.
Oh,
So
no.
how
Sometimes
did
I'm like,
you,
I could be so much richer if I didn't have a team. But how could I do this
you
job?
can't, you
How
can't.
could I do this without? And clients don't necessarily want to come to an agency with no team.
Yeah. No,
Then they just go
literally,
with a freelancer. So
that's exactly it. That whole,
I had to build a
mindset
team.
and perception of, oh, is it just you? It's like, yeah, for now, but I'm building the team,
Yeah.
but it's like,
It's taken me 5 years to like get the team right. And now I know exactly who it is that's going to work at the agency. And part of it is they are normally quite entrepreneurial.
really?
Yeah. But
Really?
and
That's
that
surprising.
yeah, exactly, because I think founders are maybe scared of that a little bit, because then that means that
They're going to take my
person,
contacts. They're
yeah,
going to just
they just want
take my
to
book
kind of
and
just take the stuff, learn what they can, and then go. But I would say all of my team, including our intern, are entrepreneurial. And what I try to do in the agency is let them take ownership of certain things. So it starts with campaigns and elements of a campaign that they are experienced enough to handle. And then it's like we've got an opportunity to maybe manage a small art gallery. Sounds crazy. In the city, in central London, and our intern comes from an art background. So I've thought to myself, how can I get Adwa involved in this? So I'm going to give it to her as a project for her to manage. So she's almost going to go into curating because that is a passion of hers. So it's finding the value in your team and bringing that out, and also giving them stuff
that
to
ownership.
own.
Yeah.
Yeah, giving them
Ownership.
things to own. And in the end, I feel that would lead to divisions, that they start to, it will become clear to me that, for example, Jennifer is our community girl. And really, whenever we're pitching or moving into that space with brands, she is the person that needs to be in that pitch and needs to be in that, so-and-so is more of, we never want to get into like talent management or anything like that, but we do a lot of publicity for actual founders. So there's someone on the team that's just naturally good with clients. So they'll be the person that would be good to like manage the publicity side. So eventually there'll be all these subdivisions within Future Brand Thinking that my team have ownership of. And in time shares in the business, and in time, might even own the business, co-own the business with me. And that is how I feel like the business will be, not employee-led, employee-owned.
Right.
Eventually.
Amazing.
Yeah. Alongside me, obviously, I will probably have the biggest share in the
yeah.
business, but I do very much, and I know a lot of advertising agencies that have done that, and they're very successful.
No, it's true. And I guess in a sense, there's so many different ways to own a company, right? I heard someone say having a percentage of nothing is nothing, but having a percentage of something that's growing and able, whether you give that share away, whether you tell them, this is an incentive to then pour back into, it's a different way of, with everyone leaving corporate, everyone leaving to be their own founder. It's not easy.
No.
It's not easy.
We can vouch for that.
So I'm telling you, I'm only 2 years in, and sometimes I'm like, I'm like, who asked me? Who asked me to be this, or my be your own boss? But it is having also a safe space of more Black owned businesses, more founder led, where we are learning the things that we didn't want from our corporate spaces to be in with. And sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I'm too nice. Maybe I do need to be a bit more, but it's just not me.
No.
I just can't. I just can't run my business that way. And I didn't come this far that way.
Yeah.
So, but it's also
Because
trying to
why
find
would you
that
pivot
balance,
now if it's
right?
working as well?
Literally, if I've come all this way, but sometimes I'm like, you should have just, you should have. Don't get me wrong. I'm stern and I'm direct in what I want because, like you said, we can't slip.
No.
We don't have a chance to slip. So if I'm asking you to do something, it's because I know the benefit of it. I'm not doing it just to, what do you call it, belittle you or to be, I want it to be good because
Yeah.
we're all going to look good. We're all, people are going to see this. The outreach and the outlook is going to be like on a reflection of all of us. It's
Yeah.
not just me. It's like, well, I had people that helped me on this. So if I'm asking for things, I do, but sometimes I'm like, oh, I should have. But I guess it comes with a learning curve, like you said.
Yeah.
It's in 5
Each
years you've
day's a
been building.
learning.
Oh my
There's
God,
so
each
many
day,
key
each hour is
learnings.
a learning. Each hour is a
I've
learning.
learnt so much in the last 5 years, and you just have to keep going. But like we keep homing back to, it is about being your true, authentic self. It's leading with kindness, niceness, whatever it is that you feel comfortable leading with. And I think, there is that perception of if you're too nice, this will happen, that people will take the mic, da da da. No, you know, that doesn't have to be the way. And let's kind of change that.
No, absolutely.
If
And
that's the
but to be honest,
case.
there might be slower growth. There might be slower growth, I must say.
Yeah, I
But
agree with that.
but growth is still growth. Sometimes we do forget like all these amazing things you've done, all these amazing clients that's come through your door. That's still growth. People don't survive the first year,
Yeah,
second year.
exactly.
You're in it
I
5
can't believe
years.
we're still here 5 years on.
Like you're
I'm
still
literally.
that's an achievement. Sometimes I do have to pull myself back and be like, yes, I wish I was the average agency with big budgets and blah blah. But actually, I'm doing okay.
We're still surviving. We're here.
Still here. We're still doing great things, and that's a blessing in itself. So it's like, and like I keep saying, we weren't given the tools. We just, like you said, you just kind of jumped in. You knew
Yeah.
what agency was and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But you didn't have someone backing you with the funds.
No.
You didn't have
Not
like
a penny.
people, come and
A
someone be
business
like,
account
this is
with
how
a
you
pound.
should, right? You should move the money. This is how you should spend the money. You were just figuring it out, and so it's like, actually, we're doing okay, and we're doing
Absolutely.
more than okay, to be honest. We're doing brilliantly to be able to be on our own 2 feet, doing all this. I mean, you were entrepreneur from jump. I wasn't. I was very creative. I wanted to be a fashion designer, and that a actress or fashion designer, but I went fashion.
I could see the
And then
actress side.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But I stuttered a lot, and I just couldn't. I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't. So I went designer route, and then pivoted and pivoted and pivoted, and now here I am. So it's Once when you take a step back and look at the bigger picture, I'm like, actually, like it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. What advice would you give younger Michelle, knowing all that you know? What advice would you give her to encourage her?
Oh, okay. Knowing what I know, I would actually tell the young Michelle to go harder and go bolder, because I think, like I said, I wasn't really a people pleaser, but I was pleasing people. And, I was very palatable and, but I would say,
You held back a lot. Do you think?
yeah, maybe just a little bit to just keep getting further ahead. Who's to say if I went in a little bit bolder and a little bit harder, but without fitting any stereotype,
But do you
I
think it's a
wouldn't have
Ghanaian
got
thing
better.
though? Sometimes I feel like the Nigerians go hard and we just like, oh, I'm just so
We
humble,
talk
humble.
about
I'm
this
so
all.
humble,
We
humble."
talk about this all the time in the office. A lot of I don't know if you know, but a lot of our clients are Nigerian owned.
Oh,
So we work
really?
with lots of Nigerian brands, and the difference in the way they move,
They have more audacity.
just
And I love it.
bolder,
I love it.
and I think maybe that's upbringing, that's cultural references. It isn't really a Ghanaian thing
Yeah.
to be so, and my family as well are like quite refined, I'm probably the most like East, and a lot of my family are like, they're just different. And I think that just to go harder and bolder, have a little bit more confidence in myself, from a younger age leading into now. So that's what I would say, like, take more risks. I definitely could have taken some more risks. I could have taken some more risks and, like, you know, there were campaigns that I wanted to do, but I didn't feel that they would land with my directors or my clients. And I know now that they really would have landed, because if I just quickly go back to the reason why future brand thinking is called future brand thinking, is because I was working in-house for a brand that happened to be the lingerie makers for the royal family. Don't need to name the name.
You can
And
do your Googles.
yeah, exactly. And I was head of PR and marketing for them. And I wrote this amazing brand proposal called Future Brand Thinking. And I still have it. And that's where I got the name for the agency, because I reread that proposal about 5 years ago during COVID. It's like, oh my God, the stuff in this proposal, because it was an old established brand, and they needed to
rebrand.
you know, without being rude, they needed a rebrand, but they also needed to appeal to a newer audience, because their current audience were not going to be alive in 10 years' time. So who's going to buy from this brand? I can say it's Rigby and Pella. So who's going to buy from this brand and spend this amount of money
It wasn't
on
cheap.
yeah, exactly. So I wrote this real amazing proposal, and then cut a long story short, I didn't get to present it because I left. I always kept that proposal because it was my first like little project that I worked with my husband on, because of his kind of tech and social media mindset. I got him to help me write it, and it was just really future thinking. So that's where I came from with that. But had I been bolder then, I wasn't that young, but I was still not bold enough to say, okay, before I go, guys, I'm just going to, you know, present this proposal to you. And you might think differently about the department. So they just didn't think PR was an important department. But had I presented this proposal with, which really would work now, like if anyone from Rigby and Pella wants to get in touch,
Please do.
I can give you that proposal, and it will sustain your business for the next 50 years, because there's a lot that the brand had within reaching power, but it just wasn't utilizing that to get a new audience in. It was harping on about the past, you know. And the younger me, I would say to that person, younger as in kid, as in teenager, as in, you know, young adult, just, you know, I would say go harder, go bolder. I think that's the easiest way to kind of put it.
Oh, Michelle, thank you so much for
Oh,
today.
you're so welcome.
It's been such an incredible conversation, and I hope our audience take so much from it, because you dropped a lot of gems, like a lot of gems, and so looking forward to what future brand thinking and you are going to do in the next year and the years to come.
Thank you.
And wish you all the best. And yeah, let's collaborate. I'm here. I'm in it. Let's whole be on
Always
boss.
wanted to work with you. I just remember the dinner that we did, and I was looking back at those pictures, and it was so celebratory and amazing. So
it was. And again, like you said, me thinking of you, you thinking of me, like to have that was just, yeah, we're doing some good things, and we're going to continue to do some good things. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and like, share for more. Bye.